Hello everybody, Trano here, and today we are going to be taking a look at the main prize for the Northern King Battle Pass, and that is the Swedish Kungstiger or Kungstiger, which is going to be coming to the Swedish Tech Tree at rank 4 battle rating 6.7. On the Battle Pass itself it is the main prize, and you will need to get to level 75 to unlock that, and unfortunately you will have to buy the Battle Pass in order to unlock it. So, the Kungstiger is basically a German Tiger II, an early model Tiger II with the early turret, but this one was kept in Germany and was basically used to test modifications that would later be used on subsequent Tiger IIs. And so it's got a mix of early production and late production features to it. For example, you've got these flame suppressors at the back here. And this was basically acquired by Sweden after World War II, and they tested it for a little bit before using it as a range target. Now, it's very easy to see that this is extremely similar to the German tank, but there are some significant differences. For example, around the turret ring, it is a flat 60mm. On the German tank, on the German Tiger II-P, it is 100mm at the front, 82mm at the side, and 80mm at the rear. So the turret ring on this is significantly worse. You know, it's a lot more vulnerable to enemy fire. It also hasn't got any side tracks, which admittedly aren't the most useful thing in the world, but obviously that does make it a little bit more vulnerable to side shots. You can also see they've modelled individual armour pieces, so for example this hatch here is just 40mm on the regular German tank, it's now 15mm, with the rest of the roof armour being 40mm. The various hatches at the rear here are now individually modelled, as is this bit here at the rear of the tank, around the exhaust system. You've got this rear cover in here, that's just hanging off loose. And there is what looks to be internal armour. I thought this was going to be a bit of an upgrade over the regular German Tiger II, but through testing it does appear that this is present in the German tanks, it's just not shown on the armour model for some reason. So unfortunately this isn't much of an upgrade in this respect. And other than that, it's not got the roof-mounted 7.92mm machine gun. The optics are the same as on the Tiger II-P, but they look a bit different, as does the vertical aiming device, which I believe is different to the one on the Tiger II-P, but the same as the Tiger II-H is. So it's a little bit bigger than the P variant, so that might be a disadvantage in game, I'm not entirely sure. But also, for some reason, they've moved the radio from here to here, so they've just moved it to the right a little bit, for whatever reason. Perhaps that's how it is supposed to be in real life. And then other than that, the only other big difference is it doesn't have access to heat rounds, but the heat rounds only have a penetration of something like 110mm, which is far worse than the regular round, so that's not going to be a huge problem, to be honest. And it also comes with various camouflages, so you've got your standard, tricolor, bicolour, and your unicolor winter camouflage. All of them can be unlocked, except for the unicolor, which you'll have to buy with Golden Eagles. So I take it out for a quick test drive, but this does basically play exactly the same as the German variant. And I have seen some complaints about this being added to War Thunder, which, to be honest, I do understand quite a bit, because this is very similar to the already existing German vehicle. However, well, it's kind of a question of could they have added it and should they have added it? If we look at the could, like, you know, how does this compare to other vehicles already in the game? I've seen a lot of people say, well, it was just used as a range target and basically left it as that. That's sort of true. Basically, Sweden acquired this from France after World War II, and they did do a lot of testing. They, you know, prepared it enough to actually take it around, you know, to move the tank around, and they managed to damage it while they were doing this, so obviously they must have been testing it fairly, you know, extensively. I don't think they tested the main gun. There was talk about it, but they didn't have ammunition for it. And basically, once they'd done their testing, there wasn't really much else for them to do. It was just going to be scrapped, and so they decided to use it as a range target. Which, yeah, fair enough. There's a lot of, for example, Japanese planes that were captured by the Americans after World War II. They did testing, and then after the war, they just scrapped them. I don't know why the fact it was, you know, destroyed as a range target rather than in a junkyard should make any difference. However, where I do agree is, well, one, this should have been a quite low priority, to be honest. There are a lot more vehicles that could have been added. For example, the late war or post-war Russian T-34-85s, could have had some of them as, you know, Battle Pass vehicles. We could have had the American M6A2 with the 90mm gun. I think that would have been a, you know, pretty good prize. Or the one I sort of thought about was the Sentinel tank, the Australian Sentinel tank with the 25-pounder. Or potentially, if not that, then there was a variant of the Sentinel that was fitted with two 25-pounder guns in order to test if it could withstand the recoil from the 17-pounder, which they were planning to mount on the vehicle. So, that would be a good, unique, exotic vehicle to add. Like I say, there's just so many different vehicles that could have been added, and while I think this will be good for Sweden, it is again, like, the Swedish tech tree does seem to be basically a tech tree where you can basically get any nation's tanks at the moment. Like, you can get lots of German, lots of Russian, British. It just sort of takes away from the uniqueness of the Swedish tech tree to my mind. And like I say, there were lots of other vehicles that could have been added in its place, to be honest. So we'll shut up a lot of the targets here. We'll go back to the main menu. And of course, Sweden doesn't have any tier 4 premium tanks at the moment. So again, I've seen some complaints that, their first premium is going to be a Battle Pass vehicle, which I do somewhat understand, because of course it's going to be extremely hard to unlock it because you have to get the very top prize of the Battle Pass. But anyway, that is the Swedish Kungstiger, and yeah, like I say, I think it's a decent vehicle. I would have preferred something else to be added, to be honest, but it'll be decent enough for Sweden. It'll perform very well, and I don't think it'll be a bad price in any respect. So like I say, if you want to get it, go for it. I probably won't be going for it myself, but like I say, will be a decent enough price if you like your German heavy tanks. So anyway, that's it for today's episode. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. I've been Tyranno, and I'll see you next time.